Today, I am bringing you my bestie, one of the most dynamic women I've ever met. And listen, she's a bestie recently because, as we know, relationships are on your time. And I'm so inspired by her, and I'm so happy for you to meet her, Miss Fab Cassie.
OMG, OMG.
OMG.
It's me.
She's here. Okay, Cassie. I love you. I know you. 3 adjectives to describe yourself.
Oh,
go.
My
no
goodness.
No right or wrong answers.
I'm bold. I'm audacious. And I'm fabulous.
Sure are.
You have to. How can I not give 3 adjectives and not have fab in them? That wouldn't work.
Where are you from?
You know what? I'm from Compton. And I'm really proud to say that because growing up, I used to never say that I was from Compton.
Really?
Some of my college besties are like, wait, when did you become from Compton? What day was it? Because there was always this stigma that was attached to growing up in the hood and I didn't understand when I was growing up how beautiful it was going to be from a beautiful place like Compton and to say that I came up from that. So I said, I'm from Carson, or I'm from LA, or I'm from Long Beach. And really in my adult life, I've got super comfortable and I was like, you know what? Where I'm from matters. The people who are still in Compton matter. The people who grew up in Compton matter. And so, I'm happy to say, Compton made and produced.
There you go. Okay, tell me about your upbringing. Who was little girl Cassie?
Oh, my goodness. So I think I was this girl that my mom says I came out the womb fabulous, And I came out and I was like, wait a minute. It was like Dorothy. I was clicking my little sparkly heels and I was like, I'm supposed to be in Bel Air. Excuse me. I'm supposed to be on the Cosbys. Where's my father that is a doctor? My mother is a lawyer. I'm supposed to be spending summers in Martha Vineyard. I just kind of always had this abundant of life since a very small child. So, I was raised by my grandparents. My mom was addicted to drugs for, most of my childbirth and upbringing. And so, my brothers and sisters still tease me to this day because we would be having tuna helper. Y'all know tuna helper. It was fine, right? But I would be like, Nana, can we plate it on the china?
Oh, God.
And so I was plating tuna helper. I was folding paper towels they were really fancy napkins. And I would welcome everybody to the dinner. And I would pretend I was the butler. Now, I didn't know that I'm supposed to be served and not the butler, but I was just making pretend. So the way that I started my life was pretending that there was already more.
But why? How did you know about that more?
I just think that it was something I just knew. I had an aunt who was I believe in the power of mentors. And I had an aunt, Melba, who I loved going over to her house. And I was like, oh my goodness, look at this art. She took me to, nice restaurants. I had another cousin, Artanetta, who took me to New York. And we had lunch, in Central Park at Tavern on the Green. Wow. And I was staring around this is where I'm supposed to be. And so the exposure and then the knowing of I'm going to take what I got, but I'm going to make it fancy. So if you got tuna helper, put a little garnish on it. Hey. Put it on a nice little plate. I was like, Nana, can I use the fine china? She was like, girl, I haven't used that since the wedding in 76, but baby, bring it out. And so, that's how I was born, always just overachieving. We'll talk about that in a minute. But just always wanting to be the president of the club. I was president in 5th grade and president in 8th grade. And just always just wanting to do more and make things better and make things pretty.
I'm really still interested where that comes from because that is, it's not natural.
Yeah.
For a little girl born in Compton to a broken home, statistically a broken home, and everything you think that comes with it, you went through.
For sure.
But to have this internal understanding of there is more for me and this is not it.
Right.
There is more for me and this is not it. Right?
Yeah.
So then walk me through, what was school like for you?
So school was very interesting, especially now that I'm a principal. So I am a teacher and educator, but I went to a different school every year. So I didn't really get stable until I would say 6th grade. I went to St. Albert the Great in Compton. I moved back in with my grandparents. But 1st grade, and I talked about this in my, presentation as a principal and as a leader. Think about the movement of a child, having to be able to have that boldness, being audacious, being fabulous. We need to start a new school every year. So it was like preschool, one school, first grade, Amostory, second grade, Seventh-day Adventist, third grade, 99th Street School, fourth grade, Carson Ambler, like fifth grade. And so like being able to have to walk in everywhere you go, not caring about your background, not caring who, was raised or not, who's not there, family dynamics, and say, hi, I'm Kasiopia and I'm fabulous. And so I look back on that little girl and I'm so proud of her. But it was so hard. When I now know that my daughter, went to the same school, K6, and I was going to the same school, probably 7-12, and just the structure of that. So moving around a lot, and I just always was able to put on a smile. And I think sometimes we use our trauma and our pain and we armor that.
Yeah.
And so I know now as an adult, turning 40 this year, that a lot of that perfectionist and a lot of that wanting to be the best and wanting to excel and having this great personality, some of that is rooted in trauma, right? Some of that is rooted in being able to walk in and saying okay, well, I have some shame that my dad is a married man and my mom is on drugs and I hope they don't ask me about that. So let me just be so great. Let me be so dynamic that they don't even know.
Yes.
And then it was really powerful when it was a surprise to people wait, what? This baby girl was going through all of that? What?
Yeah.
Coming home, helping my brothers and sisters with their homework and still setting the china out, but just all of those different things just to try to make something. And, as you always say, education is the great equalizer. One of my best friends, little trademarks. It's the truth. It's the truth, right? And so, going to all of those schools, I'm not going to say I always had the best education, but I think sometimes teachers, when they see that spark in you, they'll, invite you to join this club at lunch, or they will put you in a special program. And so I really feel honored that I had educators that took care of me and that saw my greatness because I was loud and bold and audacious. Yes. But what about those children who are going through things, who are silent, who are quiet, who you have to take a little extra time to see that spark in them, because all children are showing up with their greatness, but in different ways, and are going through different things. And so that's what really led me to education and wanting to be that, pillar of hope for other people.
Okay. But before we get to that, high school, college, what did that look like for you?
So high school, 9th grade, still fabulous. Oh, I have some horror stories, but it's hilarious because I was a shopaholic, but it was we were on a budget, so Lord, I remember that's why I first found out about Last Call and Off the Rack, or whatever, because I was Nana, I was I know this is crazy, but come on, girl, take me. And so I just I was just always reinventing myself. So 9th grade, super involved in high school, but still sheltered, being raised by grandparents, and if you have parents and their children have gotten on drugs, it was they didn't want to mess up on the second generation that they're raising. So I was very sheltered. I didn't really go outside and play like that. I played with dolls. Shout out to the Barbie movie until I was about 14. 9th grade, I had my dolls.
Yeah.
And so, my grandparents picked me up from school every day. Even in high school, my grandpa, 12th grade, my papa would be right there picking me up. And people knew, hey, Cassie, your grandpa's outside, because he has a little truck with a little rack, and So I just was a sheltered. I didn't have to ride the bus. I didn't have all those struggles because I had really great grandparents and I had great teachers, And so I just kind of felt I'm gonna make something, and I couldn't wait. I would watch the Mary Tyler Moore story and Oprah, and I was okay,
sure.
When I go to college, I'm changing my life.
Okay, but you knew you were going to college. You didn't have college-educated people that raised you.
Yeah.
You weren't around college-educated people in Compton in the 80s.
Right. Why
did you know that college was for you?
Well, I don't know if y'all know, but there was a show called A Different World that was the spinoff of the Cosbys. And that's all I knew of college. Of you go to this dormitory, you hang out, and you come in, you join a sorority, and you're going to be great. And I also had a mentor in high school talking about the power of mentorship. The mentor in high school, Dana, she's still in my life now. Miss Coleman, she was a teacher in my high school in Carson. And she was you're going to college, girl. Help me do my applications. I'm the first person in my family to go to college.
Wow.
And she's an educator. I'm an educator. And so we still, are very close to this day. She brought me my cake for Kylie's baby shower. She's an AKA, I'm an AKA, she's everything. Shout out Dana. And so, it was just this idea I knew that I was set up for greatness, and I knew that I wouldn't be able to achieve that without really going to college.
Okay, so you go to college where?
So I went to San Diego State.
Okay, what was that like?
San Diego State was great. It was like, just being the oldest in my family, I couldn't go far. I wanted to go to Spelman, which was in Atlanta, Georgia. That's a whole nother story. But I wish we had time for all this. I got some juicy stories.
I want them.
But I ended up going to San Diego State, and I picked that school because I could be like a big fish in a small pond. Like, right? Like, I think sometimes we think about like predominantly white institutions, and we think like, oh, like a black college would be for you. And I love black colleges as well. But I think being who I was and what I needed to be able to be that like shining star in my college experience was powerful. Like, I went up to Sacramento and like lobbied on like, the legislative floor. Like, I just was like, I went to Ghana and studied abroad. Like, I just had so many different opportunities, and I loved my college experience. But people thought I was this rich girl in college, and it's so funny. My friends are like, wait. You went rich? I'm like, girl, no. That financial aid and that FAFSA and my Pell Grant and my loans had me fly, okay? My first car was a Ford Mustang. My Nana got it for me. And I had Princess written on the back of it. It was like
bedazzled?
Listen, I had the bedazzled screen and the bedazzled. It was a hot mess looking back on that. But I think like what's coming up for me right now is like this theme of like fighting for your fairy tale and like you creating the life of like your dream. She is our Starbucks and we need it. Come in. So
Lizzie.
Yes. Okay, cool.
But first, coffee.
Yes.
And a lemonade. Gracias.
Yeah.
Thank you, Lizzie.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're the best. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I love that you're reading it to make sure it's right.
Cheers.
Yay. Boom.
Cheers.
Okay.
Don't show Starbucks because they're not paying us anything,
Right.
so we do not promote them. Do more for the community. Thank you. Okay.
So what I said, like, what was coming up for me was this idea of like really fighting for your fairy tale and truly creating the life that you like see in your heart. Like, I feel like if God gives you this vision of like what your life can be, then you owe it to yourself and to like the universe to do everything you can do to make that happen.
Okay, so you shielded a lot of what you considered trauma with this fabulous personality, which it is you. It becomes
who
you.
I am.
It's who you are.
For sure.
But I think you embellished it and really shielded yourself and fortified yourself and have gone forward. So then after college, with coming out fabulous, educated now with your Mustang and your bedazzled license plate.
For sure.
Who are you? Where are you?
Yay. So I wanted to be a talk show host. Like, that was the ultimate goal. I still have letters that I wrote Oprah all the time. And I had this huge dream that I was going to be a talk show host. And like, I've done that in my own ways. But for the first person out of college in your family, brothers and sisters who need you, really wanted to start creating that like generational wealth, I could not just go and sit on a set and be a PA, you know what I mean? And like run to these studios. I had to like get a real career. And so that's where education came in. I was thinking like one day something hit me and I was like, oh my goodness, my classroom can be my talk show. Like, my students are my audience.
Yeah.
And so like in tapping into like, what do they have to say? What do they believe in? Like, how can I change their lives? How can I see how people think? How can I study humans? Like, if you think about the idea of like sociology and that, like, that became my room. And it filled my cup. And it's filled my cup for the last 15 years of just really being able to say like, to see that impact, right? To be able to not only, definitely education. We talk about like excellence in academics and rigor and all those things. And I want kids to be able to have the fundamentals of all those things. But what did I need as a teacher when I was a kid, right? And so it's this idea of like just changing lives, and if a kid doesn't need to change lives, if they're not coming in with a deficit, how can I enhance?
Right.
How can I add to that? How can I have them think differently about a Black woman from Compton? Right? How can I change that?
Yes,
that idea?
Change the narrative. So, okay, and we're going to skip over a lot because I know there's so much that comes with you. But I want to get to like the good stuff.
The juicy
stuff. So, because of who you are, because of your positioning in life and your self-belief, and you just would not accept less than the best, you have been put in very interesting situations and met really incredible people who have given you opportunity. Talk about that.
Yeah.
Like recently, like what's happening?
For sure. I think, you know, it all happens for a reason. You know, sometimes you're looking and you're like, where am I? Where am I going to be good go? How am I going to start? And like I said earlier about having that vision and having like that dream for yourself and then really following through. But I also think that sometimes God can also blow your mind. Sometimes your hard work can be like, damn, I got all of this from that, right? And so, you know, I think about, you know, right now being the first Black principal at Campbell Hall, which is a beautiful school here in Studio City. And this is like a dream. This is a dream of the little girl like me. Wish I had this kind of school where we have the best, you know, academics and faculty and teachers and, you know, just technology and art. And I just am like, wow,
yeah,
I'm
you're
here,
at the forefront.
right?
But I want to underscore for people listening, and you kind of just mentioned it, that she's the first Black principal at Campbell Hall.
Yeah.
You need to understand how significant this is, because Campbell Hall is one of the most prestigious schools in the country.
Yeah.
It is, I mean, it caters to the high net worth, celebrity, multi-billionaire clientele. Yeah. And Cassie, who's sitting right here, is the first Black principal, which is a whole other thing. So shout out to Campbell Hall for
really believing in diversity. And not only like do we have, you know, of course, you know, we have some celebrity families and all that, but we also have really great families who are just working hard every day, who want their students to have great access to education. And so I think we have to look at the climate of like social justice. I think coming after the pandemic in 2020 and all of that, like companies, big and large, institutions, they were like, yo, like we have to make sure that we have brown and Black people involved in the conversation and at seats at the table.
And the important part of that is they're not there because they're Black and brown. She's not there because she's a Black woman.
Yeah.
She's there. You clearly in your life have the experience, the track record proven. Because I met you when you were still a teacher in, was it Compton?
Yeah.
In Compton at KIPP.
Yeah.
I met you. So you have been in education.
Yeah,
you have put your time in. You know education upside down and backwards, and you've educated me a lot on the system, which we don't know. The general public doesn't know. We know the public school systems fail us continually. For sure. There's this teachers union who, that's a whole other discussion. Then you have the children's needs, and then you have private education, charter education. It's just like, right?
It's so much.
You are the expert in that. So let's be very clear that it wasn't, she's a Black woman and she fit the profile. She is the expert. But to your point, absolutely, there are other experts in other industry, in government, in industry, in high places. And we're capable. We're more than capable.
Of course.
We need a seat at the table. And it takes the thought process of institutions like Campbell Hall. It's that mindset shift that the diversity of thought just makes you only richer, more competitive.
Yeah.
And the time is now.
The time is now.
Let's talk about the time is now.
The time is now. So, you know, going back to this dream I had about being a talk show host, and my classroom being that, I met an incredible producer who had worked on thousands of television shows, from Rosie O'Donnell to Ellen. David, shout out to you. I love you. And so, you know, I met him and he's like, there's something here. Like, let's talk about this. And so we were going to work on a pilot for a TV show. Obviously, the pandemic hit, and I could have then said, oh, let me stop. Instead, I just turned it into an IG live talk show series, and it was really powerful. It was a way just to connect women. I feel like I am always going to be girl power. That's just who I am. I just think it's so important. And I just think that women, too, like, I want us to say, like, let me just stop and see you.
And you're so good at that. And
let me stop and see you.
And I think in our society and culturally, and I don't know what else creates this, but women don't. We are set up to be competitive with each other, to tear each other down.
Of course.
But you do absolutely truly walk that walk of empowering women, leaning into women. I see you. And I've seen you do this in your workshops.
Yeah.
Where you sit there, and one thing you did, because you spoke at one of my retreats, it was this most simple thing. You called two random women up who didn't know you, didn't know each other.
For sure.
And you just had them hold each other's hands and look at each other.
Yeah.
Within 30 seconds, everyone's crying.
Everyone is bawling. Yeah.
No, nobody said anything.
Right.
You said, don't say anything. Just look at them. And I'm like, I'm really uncomfortable. I'm
I
out of
know.
here.
Because it's the power of just really being seen. How many of us just really want to be seen? And I use it from the classroom, obviously. I use it from education, but it translates. I just want to be seen. As a mom, I want to say, you're doing a good job. You know that mom that you see in the airport with 2 kids and you see they're
The
struggling.
Las Vegas airport waiting.
Right. And you just want
6
someone
hours.
to see you and go, you got this. They know that you're a hot mess. They know that you lost. Just, I see you.
You know the baby doesn't have socks
Right.
on and he's sitting on the floor.
Right. And so I wish that women would take the time just to say, I see you, even to pay a compliment, because you never know what that woman is going through. You never know what that woman did to just put on her shoes that day,
Jesus.
just to get out that house that day. And by you saying cute shoes, cute shirt, they go, who, me?
Exactly.
And we just don't do that enough. And so I think that is like where that came from, of that exercise. And I saw the power of it, of just being seen and being loved. And we have to understand too, it doesn't take away, me seeing you doesn't take away from me seeing myself. We think that if we have to see other people, it gives us a compliment, that it downplays us. But no, I'm always going to be fly.
And
I'm
it
always going
empowers
to be
you.
fabulous.
It empowers
and that's
you.
an empowerment. I'm empowering others. And it's been this way that people have felt like, Cassie, you're like a magnet, you're like a ray. And that empowers me when I have low moments, right? And I'm thinking like, okay, I thank God that I've invested in people so that when I have my moments that are low, people come back and invest in me.
They sure do.
And Gina, you've been that for me too, of like, it's like she sends me a message like, what happened? And I'm like, and it's so powerful because we have that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And people may just see us having a great time or whatever else.
Which we do.
And I think that comes from that boldness, audacious and fabulous of living it clearly. I'm not shrinking. I'm not shrinking for you. I'm not shrinking for anyone, because I worked so hard to get here. And while I'm here, I'm going to see you and love you. And if you deny me and hate me because of that, that's on you. That's your stuff.
100%.
But it's not mine.
100%.
If you get mad at me because I have on a little top and it's cute, it's not my fault.
And because we're winning,
right?
Which we find as we go in higher professional levels, you'll see women that are the haters, or men, but mostly women sometimes, especially if it's a successful woman, they're the haters. It's like, that says more about you and where you are, and I wish you well.
I know.
And if we could all just take a deep breath and actually see that person and say, they fucking worked.
I know.
They made some choices in their life and there they are. Like, that's amazing.
But sometimes the sunlight, it makes you feel really good, but it could also burn and sting you.
Burns
right?
them all up.
If you don't have that sunscreen on, right? That protection. And so I've had to learn that because sometimes my light, people just don't like you because of your light. Yes. And I am a sensitive bunny rabbit, okay? Like my feelings get hurt. Like, I am human. Like, if you cut me, I bleed. It might be pink and sparkly, but it's blood, right? And so, this idea of like, why can't people be more kind? Like, why can't people be more kind to each other? And I think that because when you have a bold personality and when you have a lot of confidence, people think they can just say anything to you at any time. They could just kick you. They could just whatever. And I'm like, hold on. I'm still a human. I know that I feel like a superhuman because I'm like happy and joyful, and you can't believe that I'm always this way. But that hurt me. That hurt me. It's bringing me down. I'm listening to it. It's affecting me. And I think that transparency is needed too, right? Like, we can't always be like, nothing gets to me. I'm not saying that. Like, stuff gets to me, but I learn how to keep it going. And I also learn how to say, like, that's about you. That has nothing to do with me.
Right. And so this is an interesting topic because you and I, we always say, we say the same thing, but just differently.
Yes.
You are.
Gina's a tough cookie, everyone. If you all know. But she's my bestie.
It's fine. We say the same thing, though. We say the same thing. Like, what you just said, you ultimately got to the same point that I would just be like, they're saying something to you, choose not to be triggered by it.
Right.
That's your choice. You're choosing that.
Yeah.
What you just said was a very nice way to unpack it and slowly let them down. And at the end, you said, but that's them. It has nothing to do with me.
Yeah, for sure.
So that's part of our magic, why we're like besties, by the way, because we literally think the same. Yeah. But our delivery is so incredibly
Delivery's a little
different.
different, everyone. Yes. Gina's delivery is a little, like
get
Gina.
to the point.
Ooh, she'd be like, boom. I'm like, well,
yeah.
What she really meant was, everyone, hey, thank you. She's like, get off the I'm like, everyone, thank you so very much. If you could just please exit left. And she's like, go now. yeah, it's hilarious. That's what you do. But, you know, I think it's the power of this. And I think I've also had really great role models, like as my adult life. I think we think about role models as children. We ask children, like, who are your role models?
Yes.
Who are your role models? But as an adult, who are your role models? And I think I've been so blessed to like learn from Miss Tina. I call her Mama Tina.
Stop right there. Tell me, back up. Let's talk about that first.
Yes. So
who's Miss Tina?
Miss Tina is Beyonce and Solange Knowles' mother. And she is an incredible, powerful woman. And I've seen her navigate so many different spaces. I've seen her advocate fearlessly for what she believes in. I've seen her love and mother children that are hers and not hers. I've seen her kill it in boardrooms. I've seen her create events that you have no idea and draw and sketch. I've seen her just make a pot of gumbo. Like, I've just seen her do it all. And I think when you have role models, when you get into your late 30s or your late 40s, that changes, right? And you look for a different type of woman that you can look up to. And her doing it herself, you know, she could have every help and staff and assistance, whatever else, but she like is on the front lines, and that helps me to say I can keep going. And she's kind. She stops for every picture. She pours into your cup. You can call her right now. I remember in the pandemic, when the pandemic first hit, you know, she had like a list of names and people who she was calling and checking on. And she was like, Cassie, get this vitamin and this and this and this. And I just am like, what? I'm like, how can I do more of that in my life?
And I can attest to that because you introduced me to her, and I've had, you know, brief interactions with her. And one thing that struck me is she is just kind.
Yeah.
You approach people that you think are that big and you want to emulate and you want to be guided by them. And how do they do it? Yeah. The fact that she would just sit and talk to a civilian.
For sure.
And I've seen it. And she's kind and she shows up and she is on the front lines. And so having her as your mentor, and I know you're very close with her, that has helped shape you. And I know, you know, her experience is your experience, course, and you are involved with Waco.
Yeah. And the work that we've done.
What is Waco?
So Waco is where art can occur. We have a theater here in North Hollywood, and we really have this powerful mentoring program that we've established. You know, we were there from the first babies, our first group. They're now, our first group of 7th graders are now freshmen in college, right? And so, you know, Miss Tina has done everything from like make sack lunches to have beach days to movie days to driving vans to this to helping families during the pandemic to paying folks rent. Like, I could go on. And so that's really about like how you want to be a boss woman. You give back. Yes. Like, you help out.
100%.
And it's not just sending the check in, but being on the front lines of it. You empower others. You inspire others. And so how can you not be great? How can you not be great? And so from that, one of my most favorite experiences, we took 10 students from South LA to Ghana. Okay. And some of these kiddos have never even been on an airplane before. Wow. Never had even been out of like the South LA radius.
Why Ghana?
So Ghana, we had partnered with Essence Fest and with Nicole Ari Parker and Boris Kojo. They had this big celebration of like the year of the return. And so we went there in 2019. But because of that trip, what birthed out of that trip was like my best friend, Nicole Ari Parker, who is another big sister, another pillar in my life, who has just taught me how to show up. Like, how to show up. Like, yes, we see her beauty and we see all that she is, but it's her realness. It's her depth, right? Yeah. Like, depth, think about that word. That's the DEPTHS, like the depth, right? Yeah. So it's like, I love it when I meet people who can be fabulous and who can be kind and bigger than life, but still have this deep roots.
So good.
These roots that you're like, oh my God, thank God I'm planted. Thank God I have a foundation. Thank God. I mean, I think even walking in here today, Gina, when you can see the art of like the beautiful Latino heritage that you have, those are your roots. Yeah. And like, we are nothing without roots.
Oh yeah.
And I think society has told us to cut your roots. Society has said, don't say you're from Compton. Society has said, create a new life. And it took me 40 years to say, I'm so proud of my roots. I'm so proud I'm standing on my grandmother's shoulders. I'm so proud of my papa, who was born in 1926, who made a way out of no way. I'm so proud of my mother. I'm so proud of my father. I'm so proud of, you know what I mean? And it was like Nicole helped me to see that.
Sure.
And Nicole helped me to like be like, oh, man. And you could have the most sexiest husband in peoplemagazine.com and children. And right. And so I think it's this like idea of women can have it all.
Sure can.
And Gina, you tell everyone that with your Empower Hour, like you walk having it all every damn day.
Mm-hmm. We just argued about this last night at dinner.
Oh, we did.
With Nicole.
We did.
Who aligned with my messaging. And so you were bookended.
Gina's so happy to say that. Okay. Now hold on.
Am I wrong or am I right?
Okay.
Well, the truth is the truth. So here we go.
Ooh, she's really happy about this one, everyone. She got to win, you know, because Nicole's in this moment because she's a Ford model and she's in Valentino. And so Nicole's like, yes, let's take it to the next level. And I'm like, hold on. Why can't the level that we be at right now be okay? Because we're tired.
So let's talk about this, though.
Okay.
Because the reason why last night's dinner conversation was so powerful and healthy and wonderful was because there are two camps. For women, we talked about it. It was the three of us, but this is a conversation for the women.
For sure.
For anyone.
Yeah.
You have, I see it. Well, there's three. One, powerful. I'm going for it. This is it. Nothing's going to fucking stop me.
Yeah.
This is it. Boom. Bam. Life's going to happen. The good, bad, ugly. I'm going to deal with it.
Yeah.
Then you have people that are kind of oscillating. Well, some days I feel like this, but then I'm kind of, it's hard. Life fucking sucks. But I'm kind of like this. And then you have the others who are, because I am a woman of color, divorced, single mom, no money, no connections, LGBTQ, whatever the category, life happens to me, not for me. I'm a victim. This is it. And I think the conversation last night kind of went across that spectrum.
For sure.
And we were dissecting and figuring out, you know, you brought up good points that are really valid points.
Yeah.
And the conversation was, well, it's not equally applied. It's not an equal thought process for those that have less. It's not as easy.
Yeah.
Which I disagree with you completely about.
Yeah. And that's okay.
But that's okay because there's a diversity of thought.
Sure.
But I acknowledge and I understand that is a very, very real thought process. And it is a very real way of living.
For sure. And my pushback on that idea is this. I had some time to think about it. So there's two different categories. We talk about people who are at the same starting place. So let's talk about two young girls who have both parents in the home, both same neighborhood, same parent income, whatever else, right? So that's that. I think if you look at those two people, you could say, this is either your intrinsic motivation, right, that's going to push you, and maybe one child will surpass themselves because they just have that push. Let's say the parents don't push them, parents don't do anything. It's just innately in you. So I feel like it was innately in me to be who I'm going to be. It's in me. Whether I came from a rich family, whether I came from a poor family, whether I came from a middle-class family, it was in me to be great. I believe that I would have been great either way.
That's right.
Okay. But the obstacles, right? Like my path. Let's talk about the finish lines. Like, I'm great. Thank you. But I had to climb over dirt and then drown and then get out the swimming pool and then pull myself up and then do a backflip and then turn and go through all my family members passing away. Like that journey to get to the finish line. When some people who have the same intrinsic get to do that finish line without getting in the mud. Right. And so that's not fair and it's not, well, whatever. Because I'm raising a child. My daughter is not going to have to go through the mud. Right. And that's what you do when you can change the life, the cycle of it. Right. But what I'm saying is my message is I understand the mud because I was in it. And so I know that when you're in it, I'm not saying just stay there. I'm not saying stay in the quicksand. Right. But I'm saying that there are two different paths to the finish line, and some people have an easier path to get to that finish line.
100%.
Doesn't make them any better or worse or intrinsically motivated or 1% or not, but it's the mud. And sometimes when you're in mud and when you're in quicksand, baby, you're just trying to get a free arm. You're just trying to get one piece out.
That's right. Kind of like Obama's parents.
Yeah.
And so the mud is the mud. And so but like you just said, don't stay in the mud.
Right.
Because I have mud
Right.
on me, I'm not going to succeed.
Right.
They don't have mud on them, and they had it better,
Right.
and they have showers, and they have
Right.
some people get dealt the shittiest deck of cards,
Yes,
and it is
yes.
not. It's not fair, but it's
Yeah.
not fair. Life is not fair.
Yeah.
That is what it is.
Yeah.
But it's what you do with it. What can you do
Yeah.
with it? And it's gonna fucking suck.
Yeah.
Way more for others.
Yeah.
But again, going back to the mindset.
Yeah.
Kylie, your daughter, is
Yeah.
never going to ever experience anything like that
Yeah,
because
for
of the
sure.
work you put in, because
Yeah.
of your mindset.
Yeah.
You didn't believe in this stuff. You didn't
Yeah.
believe in that.
But at the same time, there's also parents who have worked hard and their kids still get addicted to drugs, or their kids still struggle with mental
100%.
illness. And that doesn't make them bad parents
100%.
or bad kids, right? So the life is going to throw you this.
Yep.
So my only push sometimes I love your message, and you know you're my bestie and I need to hear it. And the way you lived your life, it is powerful and it is motivating and it's an inspiration. Like we all have those, you know, everybody's clicking and watching your videos along with everyone else's of the inspirational quick sound bites.
Yep.
But I'm saying that depth. I want you to hear the sound bite. But I know what it feels like to not be able to get up.
Mm-hmm.
I know what it feels like to just be working so hard and you feel like, can I just get a break? And what I'm saying is hold on. Stay in the game. The time is now. You're going to get it. You're going to get it, but it might take other people a different cycle.
That's right.
But for you, for women who don't have an excuse, who are not in the doggone mud, you have no choice that you did not get up, do your hair, put your lipstick on, and put your hoops on like Gina says.
True. However, that is passing judgment again on the fact that somebody like me, I define mud. I had cancer. I went through a divorce. That might not be mud to someone. That was not fucking fun.
Yes.
I grew up, yes, my parents were together. Yes, we had money. Yes, I had it all growing up. Very wealthy.
Yeah.
But what came with that? What came with that? Like it's not what you think it is.
That's
It's
so
a
powerful.
relative
Everybody
situation.
has mud.
And so there's obvious mud, which you're
Oh,
talking about,
yeah.
which that fucking sucks.
Yeah.
But then it's relative. You cannot discount people because their journey of mud does not look like yours as what you define it, right? And so I disagree with that. And I do think what we agree on is, the point is, mud is mud, fine. Keep going. It might take you a little longer because this shit fucking sucks and it hurts and it doesn't look like, and you know what? It doesn't look like there's a way out.
Yeah.
But
when you're surrounded by mud and you can't see,
quicksand.
all you see is that. But that doesn't mean that we still can't keep going. And I think what I would say is, for the women who I coach and like the women who I've talked to, is that start with what you got with where you are. So going back to me doing the tuna helper dinners at my grandma's house when I was a little girl, I started with what I had. You know, we're talking about my good friend Trail. He started his beautiful brunches and he started the first one, which is what he had. So I think what we're both saying is just start.
Just start.
Gina's saying wake up at 4:30 and do Pilates and run first and then start. But I'm saying like, yo, once you get up, start.
When you get up at 6.
Right? When you get up, girl, start. Right? Because the time is now.
And movement's
so that's the piece. I think keep going. Start with what you got. You're not going to jump off and become, Bill Gates. But if you never do anything to get there, you won't even get close. You know what I mean? And also, I think it's this idea about these dreams. I had a huge dream of being a talk show host. I'm not a talk show host. I'm not on Channel 7 yet. At 3 o'clock, could you imagine me in my cute little couch and my guests come out?
Yes.
Oh.
Yes.
But there's other elements to that. Like when I'm on stages and talking to folks, when I'm leading conferences.
Like you've created it in your own way.
And so that's the piece of like, I'm not saying don't dream. But also don't stay in that dream where you're not making anything happen. Could you imagine if I was 22, like, I'm just going to be a talk show host and it's just not working out. Now I'm 40 and I'm still trying to, no. So like, let's ask me, what do you think about that though? Because some people feel like you got to go for your dream and don't stop. But I'm like, I knew I had to pay my bills and like create a life. And so I couldn't just like, I had to be someone. So Gina, what do you think about this idea of like going for your dream, but then being realistic?
You exemplify that. Have your dream. And I talk about this. I call it like self-love, finding your true, what is your passion? What do you want to live for? And some of us are lucky enough to have it and know it. But then others of us, majority of us, don't ever get the opportunity.
Yeah.
You do it. You have the talk show host dream.
Yeah.
Some iteration of that. You have created it through your life. That is all extracurricular stuff. And you've created it. Some people call it manifest. I call it you just fucking made it happen.
That's what I'm talking about.
Go.
Right?
Semantics.
Fine.
But realistically, we all know there is economy. You want to have a house. You want to have a nice car. You want to send your child to school. You want to.
Sure.
Realistically, you have to work. That's just the economy.
You have to take care of your essentials.
But what you don't do is, well, I'm going to be in education. I'm going to be a teacher. Nothing against teachers. I'm using her dream as being a talk show host.
Right.
She has to fuel her life. She has to pay for her life.
Yeah.
So instead of just staying as a teacher, you said, I'm going to elevate, which you did.
Right.
You went step by fucking step. You didn't just say, I'm a teacher. I'm too old to be a talk show host. I'm divorced. I'm a single mom. I live in an apartment. I can't. Time is passing. You've never talked like that.
Right. Even starting my own business as a, entrepreneur, as an event planner, started that in 2013. So just, I'm always been going and doing and making happen. And I think to kind of close out this part of it, I'll talk about Amanda being inspiration, right? And how dreams can pivot and change. Amanda is someone who I've seen. Amanda's my sister, y'all, and Gina knows us, and bestie. She's someone who I've seen accomplish every goal that she's ever set out to do. She's amazing. From college to becoming a lawyer to passing the bar to now, she was, doing all of her corporate law at a big PG&E, and now she just I can't even say it without getting the chills of launching her skincare line. And so that's an idea of dreams having dimension, right? And still continuing to dream and making it happen.
Right.
And I think, you and her and everyone else, there's a certain level of work ethic and determination that it takes. There's something that sets Beyonce apart from Beyonce.
Right.
And we're
kind of like her. We're kind of like her. I think she would be our bestie.
She would. She loves us. And so at a conference I was saying how can you become the Beyonce of your life?
Yes.
And that's what I see you be. That's what I see Amanda. That's what I see Nicole. That's what we all hope to be, right? And just dreaming up stuff that no one else can dream and doing it. So there's idea of being realistic, right? And taking that climb and one step to the next step. I'm going to go this pathway and continuing that. But there's another piece of it when you can think up something and dream it up and then you walk in the door of it. Her skin.
Come on.
And so that's what it is.
She'll be on my podcast too, by the way. She's just getting some things sorted out. Yay, Amanda. Okay, so the point is the climb is not linear. We have the impression that the climb is this.
Yeah.
Fab Cassie came from Compton and did this.
No way.
Hell no, that's not the climb.
It was up and it was the mud and it was this and it was
dead ends.
And it was gravel and it was a rock. And y'all look at me. I'm not made to do mud and the high and the obstacles. I'm not made to climb mountains, right? And so, but that's just the reality of it. I'm not. I was could you imagine me? What?
No, I cannot imagine you doing that.
But you've got to keep going because the time is now.
That's it.
And
so you have the podcast, The Time Is Now.
Yeah.
And so I want people to know how to find you.
Yes.
Because your story and your messaging and your platform is so empowering. And again, it's a different delivery system. It says the same thing.
For sure. Mine is a little bit, warm and fuzzy, sparkly. And Gina's goes...
Sit up straight.
But it gets you together. Fab Cassie, you can find me at FABKASI. And just love to connect with everyone. And you will always see me on Gina's page. Gina has been the bestie of the bestie. And we live such a fun life together. And I love seeing you kill it and just lead with love, tough love, and excellence. And you're the shit.
I love you. So thank you for sharing. I'm going to have you back because there's so much to unpack here. Next, I think we should talk about the black and brown power.
Oh, that's good.
And how we join forces together.
That's good.
I think the female aspect of it, I think that conversation nobody has.
Nobody's having that.
Nobody.
We got to search that. Is there any a black woman and a Latino woman talking about this? Because this is real.
Right here. It's happening. The time is
I
now.
love it.
Follow Cassie. I love you.
Mwah.
High five.
Bye.
Boop. I love you.